Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of the Upscale Business Podcast. It's Mitch and Arena, but we have a special guest.
Meet Nick Boiso, the spark behind Boiso's Electrical Services. He's been lighting up the industry for 6 years strong, powering homes, businesses, and some serious growth along the way.
We are chatting about why word of mouth can send you south. Now, before you all go and get your knickers in a knot, do you know how much flack I cop when I say stuff that you might disagree? Like, it's going to be okay. What we're saying here is not that it doesn't work. We're simply saying that if you just focus on that one thing alone, it'll get you nowhere. Or maybe not as fast growth as you could have.
It'll probably just keep you in the same spot.
If you're lucky. I feel like if you just rely on word of mouth, other people will outgrow you and your business will shrink.
That's true. I'd agree.
Now, you mentioned before, you have a highly successful electrical contracting company. You do some other services in that space. Word of mouth is obviously a big part of your business. You do a great service. And I know through working with you that you have built these incredible connections with people. They talk about you, you've got that relationship, and that's ultimately why they utilize your services. Have you found that they sit there and tell everyone else about you?
Not necessarily. There are probably instances, and everyone's probably had them in the past, where it might be something like, oh, who's a good electrician, or who would you trust to do this, or whatnot. And your name might be brought up in conversation, but it's definitely then probably needs some sort of reference check or some sort of other form of advertising or outreach to confirm that you are there, you are present, you are looking for more work.
So if we talk about your growth, while you're saying that, look, word of mouth has a part to play in that, what has been the main ways in which you've been able to grow the business and acquire new work?
Generally speaking, I would have said word of mouth and branding, but to be where we are now is the additional branding, the sponsorship, the cold outreach, the signage on your cars. It's not just the one thing. And if you rely on one thing alone, and I guess it's probably, if you go on word of mouth alone, you're probably going to be sitting there just in your own one-man show, or maybe with two tradies and an apprentice. But if you really want to get out there and you want to grow and you want to continue to level up and not get left behind, then you definitely need to be adding additional things.
Now, like, word of mouth is great. Like, what word of mouth doesn't, and if we kind of like simplify this, it's essentially if you do a good job, other people will talk about you, or people will talk about you. And so as we grow and scale our business, and as we bring team members on, we want them to think that, hey, we do good work so that people do talk about us, so that they get the job done, our quality meets a certain metric, and then they go and refer us on to other people. So the word of mouth has its point, but I look at word of mouth as one of those things where it's kind of a farming method. You plant a seed somewhere and you hope, you pray, you hope with everything you've got that will then yield additional fruit. And yeah, farming does. We all know that, massive turn of events in humanity was when we learned how to farm. So it has its place. But there's nothing better than grabbing a spear, sharpening the shit out of that thing and going and getting someone between the eyes and saying, I want that. I want their business. I want that person into my fold. I want to build a relationship with them. That's where you start to take control of the speed at which you grow.
And the other thing probably is word of mouth is probably, it's a double-edged sword. So if you're relying on it alone, like how many times have you been to a nice restaurant and had an awesome feed there? Yep. And how many times have you given it a Google review?
Very rarely.
How many times have you been to a place and had a dinner or had a meal there that was less than savory? How many people do you tell about it?
Everyone.
I bagged out Amex on Facebook yesterday.
Well done.
I did.
They don't care.
I totally agree with you. It's like, it's so much more likely for me to tell someone about a crappy experience I had with someone, any type of business, because it also makes for the better story. People like feel for me and they're like, oh shit, you had to go through that. That sucks. Like, let's hate on them together. It's like, it's a bonding thing. But if I say, like, people, like, humans are negative people, I feel. If I come and share something, bad news sells. I really like both of your theories together with the farming and word of mouth in connection with branding. Because the branding is like watering your crops, making sure that they have the nutrition that they have and actually like can flourish. Word of mouth works, but only like if I see your car drive past, like that's like watering those crops. Like, oh yeah, that's a reminder. Like someone told me like they had a good experience. If that happens, I probably won't put a Google review up unless I get asked for it. but I will constantly get reminded if I see your branding on Facebook, on your cars, on Instagram, or, you know, your website, or I can get some ads somewhere, or I hear your ad on the radio. That's where I actually remember, like, oh yeah. And if I recommend someone, I'm like, I've heard about these guys, you should try them.
And that's true, because if you rely on word of mouth alone, and you do have a negative word of mouth, it might be 1 out of 1,000, then 100 people are going to hear about it. And if that's your main source of income and your main, like your bread and butter, then you've put yourself in a position where all of a sudden you've got to look for something else. You've got to somehow change the way people perceive you. You've got to change the way that your image in the society is, or, you know, rectify the world, or whatever it is. But like, if you're just literally relying on word of mouth, not only will you go backwards, you will struggle. You'll struggle to win a tender. You'll struggle to do anything else, because if you don't have the capability statements and whatnot, never going to achieve it.
We hear people all the time, yep, I do word of mouth, I don't need to do anything else. You might not need to, but if you did, you would grow faster. So why are you not doing that? Like, are you content sitting in the space that you are? Are you content sitting in the growth patterns that you have? Most people listening to this podcast aren't sitting here wanting to listen to the Upscale Business Podcast where we help you stay exactly where you fucking are. You're listening because you want to grow your business. You're listening because you want a better quality of life. You're listening because you want shit to be different. And so the only way it's going to be different is if you grab it by the fucking balls and you start doing the other things, to build your lead engine structure. You start doing, like you said, your cold outreach. You start building out your websites. You start making sure that your flyers are going out. You start upselling. You start Google ads. If you do all of those things, you're going to grow at a far faster pace than if you just rely on the one space.
Well, you're compounding it.
Exactly. Yeah, because now you go get a Google ad client in and you do a great job for them. And yes, they give you word of mouth as well. And it just keeps on building and building and building. Now you got Facebook ads running and they bring you in work and now they give you word of mouth. It's not that we don't want to aim for word of mouth referrals. And that's another difference, is there's a difference between, okay, I get word of mouth where I hope and pray that someone refers me. There's a difference to that and then having a systematic approach to creating a word of mouth environment where you're actually asking people for referrals.
Do you have a system to ask for referrals?
We do, but it's not something that we focus a great deal on, being a regional town. I'd probably say that indirectly, you know, you get a Google review, you're asking for word of mouth. So like Mitch was sort of saying, it is word of mouth, but it's a different platform of that same process. Yeah. So you're looking for word of mouth. You want to be recommended on Facebook. You want to be the guy that they tag in the post. You want to be the same guy that, you know, you go back and do 100 jobs for one customer rather than one job for 100. So they are all examples of where compounding word of mouth with a structured system or process in place and can definitely get you to where you want to go.
Yep. I love how measurable it is, because you can see and you can measure how many jobs you went and did for that person.
Yeah.
And you can see like how many people actually left us a positive review because we asked for that. And then someone says, I saw your reviews on Google. That's why I'm here now. And that's very measurable over a lot of different platforms and pillars of lead generation, really.
Well, the other thing is if you're waiting on, say you need a plumber and Mitch has used a plumber before and he goes, hey, use this guy. You jump on, you Google him and you go, he's only got one review. And there's another guy that's got the sponsored ad, got this, he's got 37 5-star reviews. You go, Mitch had a great experience. You know, word of mouth's probably good, but this guy's probably going to be better.
The word of mouth works against you there.
Yeah.
Because the word of mouth got that person to actually take the action of going to Google and looking at that person, but then they went, they don't have the other ducks in a row. And so then it almost like it outsold you to go to the competitor. They probably wouldn't have even looked at it in the first place if they hadn't have given the word of mouth referral.
Yep.
Really, really quickly, as an action point, if you're out there right now and you want to set up some form of like referral-based system that forces word of mouth to occur, Simpro, ServiceMate, badges, notifications, set it up 60 days, 30 days, whatever it might be after the invoice is paid, that you purposefully ask people. Yep, we've got templates in our platform that you can utilize, but ask people for those referrals. Don't just fucking sit on a whim and hope that it happens.
100%.